Hello and welcome to Long Beach Lens. I am your host, Derek J. Simpson, Executive Director of the Long Beach Community Action Partnership. Today, our first guest is the Project Director for Accessory Dwelling Units, Long Beach. Please join me in welcoming a dear friend and colleague, Sharon Jackson. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. I mean, we've known each other for a lifetime.
Oh gosh,
we'll leave it at that.
We go back to some early development days.
Yes. I think about that often when I hear different things, especially about the College Promise and how that came out of the office that you and I were in with Judy Seal.
It was just an idea.
Right.
And to see how it has evolved and how Judy has taken it and turned it into a full program.
Right, and spreading throughout the county and other districts. But you've been so involved in the community, both before that project and currently, and this new initiative that you're involved with is important. But before we get into all of that, just a little brief history about who you are so that the people watching can kind of understand who is Sharon.
Who I am.
Yeah.
I love to always claim I'm a Long Beach native, having been born and raised here.
Right.
I love my hometown. Went away to college, spent 12 years working for IBM, and then decided I wanted to come back and work in my community, so went to work for the city.
Right.
I think I've had one of the most diverse careers at the city. I started out in the narcotics division as an analyst. We did drug abatement, we did asset forfeiture, we knocked down doors. Cleaned up distressed properties, and then went over to the city manager's office and ran the neighborhood nuisance abatement program, which also was focused on cleaning up downtown. So a lot of the development you see that's happening downtown now, we feel like we could take credit for some of that for having cleaned up that area and some of the neighborhoods. So loved doing that, and then spent the last 10 years of my career at the airport. When I got to the airport as a public affairs officer, we had 7 daily flights, and I got to go through the whole experience with JetBlue and getting to our current level of 41 flights, seeing the airport as a major economic engine, and enjoyed that. But I think what I liked most about my time at the airport was the dialogue and opening up the communications with the community and making the airport accessible. So did all that, retired, and then moved to Selma, Alabama for 6 years, to the deep historic South for 6 years, where my husband and I did some community development projects.
Now, were you there for the reenactment of the march?
No, we were there. I was actually on the planning committee. I
You were?
still serve
Okay.
on the board. I'm one of the board members for the Voting Rights Museum there, so we got to plan the whole 50th, got to meet the president, had an opportunity to meet every major civil rights figure that I would have ever have wanted to. And so it was really special. Got to write a book about Selma, beautiful pictures, history, and have a beautiful historic home just within walking distance of the Edmund Pettus Bridge. So it was a great experience.
Oh, I'm glad I asked that question. I didn't realize those elements. I knew you were there.
Yes.
And being from Mobile, Alabama, and driving through Selma, going to the University of Alabama in my last 2 years, I never really stopped there. It was like passing through. But when you get to immerse yourself in the history, it makes a big difference. Now to the questions at hand, because you're involved now in something just as important in our community potentially, and explain to those viewing what are accessory dwelling units? Okay?
Accessory dwelling units, and better known as ADUs, are granny flats, cottage homes, backyard apartments, mother-in-law suites. They go by all kinds of names. But basically it's a second unit that you can now build on a residential property.
Now you say now build, was it prohibited before?
There's always been laws that allowed you to do it, but they were very restrictive. The regulations, the cost, it was very difficult to build. As an example, I think some statistics I saw for Long Beach, they had in up to 2016, so in 2015, 2016, I think they had permitted 2. Since the new laws passed, which went into effect in January of 2017, they've already permitted 100. So it shows you that this new streamlining of the regulations is making all of the difference. But basically it's a unit that's accessory to the primary dwelling on a property.
Now we have a graphic that we'll show as you're talking about that, but why is what you do important? As we look at this, now we're showing an attached one, a detached, and a repurposed existing. Are there major differences in what we're looking at here?
Yeah, they're all very distinct, and like I said, with the new law, the state passed the law in 2017. Long Beach created their ordinance in December of 2017. So now it's available, and in Long Beach you have an opportunity. You can build a unit that's attached to your primary unit. You can build a totally separate standalone unit, which is called a detached unit, or you can do a repurposed existing. So let's say you can carve out a portion of your existing home,
Right.
segregate it out, and make it its own individual unit. Now, what's specific about an accessory dwelling unit is that they have to provide independent living. So you have to have space for living and sleeping, full kitchen facilities, and bathroom facilities. They also have to have their own direct access. So you can't pass through a house to get, it has to be totally independent living. And so this is what's new here for Long Beach. To try to have built any of those prior to 2017 would have been very, very difficult.
Okay. And then in this slide, what's the story we're telling here?
This is actually one of my favorite slides because it talks about the flexibility. And our project, we're really focused on multi-generational living. Having left California, and then when we came back, we were fortunate that we had retained our home, so we had a place to come back to.
Right.
Had we not, we couldn't have afforded to live in California.
Right.
And I think a lot of families are faced with that situation. So you see the first example there of 2010. You'd have a mom and a dad, John and Mary, and a young child, and their parents who are older. So you have an accessory dwelling unit. The younger family is living in the front unit. The parents are living in the back in 2010. By 2020, John and Mary have had a couple more kids. Their parents have either maybe passed on, or now maybe they're needing to live in a different kind of a facility. So now they need both units just to be able to live and to handle the size of their family. And then by 2040, John and Mary are now living in the back unit, and their children and their families are living in that. So it allows for a couple of things. One, again, multi-generational living. Parents who may need some assistance to be able to live and be close to their family. But one of the things that's important to me and really got me involved in the project was for the ability for families to retain their property. It's a way to afford the property with rising housing costs and all of that. So if you have two families that are able to live on that property, it makes it more affordable for everyone. And then as you see, as generational move on, then the children would have the ability to continue to be able to maintain. And that's kind of how you can help to build wealth. I mean, property has always been one of the ways to build wealth. So the ability for a property to stay in the hands of that family generationally is a good thing.
Now, what challenges to this? Because like I used to live in the Rose Park Historic District. So if you're living in a community like that where you're concerned about the impact of parking or the impact of the historical integrity of a community, what would you say to residents in those neighborhoods about those concerns?
And that was the big part of the discussion during 2017. When the state passed their law, it's a blanket law that applies to the entire state that says, yes, you can build these units. But they did give cities the opportunity to recognize their uniqueness and to plan accordingly. And I think our city did a good job with our ordinance in trying to make it fit Long Beach. So if you live in what's considered a parking designated area or parking impacted area, then there are some additional restrictions that say, if you're going to build an accessory dwelling unit, then you have to be able to provide parking to support that. Because there doesn't want, it is not the intent of the law to impact neighborhoods negatively. And so our city council took that into effect, and they put some additional regulations in place to assist with the parking. But the state was very clear that no city could be prohibitive, that they needed to be flexible. So where I live, in my situation, because we have adequate driveway space, and we're actually working on our own ADU, which is probably going to be a garage conversion. If we remove our garage, we still then have adequate parking on our parking pad or on our driveway. So it won't have an impact on the neighborhood.
Gotcha. So your expertise in this, as you've been immersing yourself rather in this whole issue, why would someone benefit from speaking to someone like you? Because as I was talking with you, I understand sometimes it's difficult for people to navigate all the nuances to really make this happen the proper way. So succinctly, how would you be that asset to people listening? Well,
there's two things. Again, helping them just to understand the guidelines and the regulations, because every property is unique. There are some basic requirements. The property or the lot size has to be at least 5,200 square feet.
That's a big issue.
That's a big issue. And then you start to calculate from there. There's setback requirements. There's maximum or minimum sizes of the units that you can build or not. What makes sense economically. So helping homeowners through those kind of situations is primarily what we will do. Our group is led by homeowners, trying to help homeowners. And what happened is when I got involved and interested in ADUs, I went to a training conference up in Portland, which is sort of the hub of all ADUs, and sat there for 3 days and loved the concepts, but was totally confused. Then came back to Long Beach, and I worked for the city for 20 years. And here I was trying to navigate through, trying to make decisions, what would be the right process for us. And it took me months. And that's when I realized that if I was struggling, trying to be able to make these decisions, that other homeowners would be struggling as well. But then the other part of it is that it's a big decision economically. And what it comes down to is the homeowner is almost a developer, as opposed to, and most homeowners have never developed a property on their own, so there's big decisions to make, because while building an ADU, I think it's a great opportunity, it's also not cheap.
Right.
I mean, it can be, if you're lucky and if you choose to do some of the work yourself and you're doing a simple garage conversion, you might be able to do it for $30,000, $35,000, up to if you're trying to build a detached standalone unit, it can cost $150,000 to $200,000. So it's a big decision. And so anything that we can do to help homeowners to be able to make the right choice and also help them to be able to save money as they go along. So that's what we do. We fill the gap between them having an ideal and then them having to hire professionals who will charge them much more than we would charge them. Right. So we fill that gap right in between.
Well, we're going to put your information up as we close out this segment, but thank you so much. You're talking about decisions that impact generations, and I think that's important for families to consider. Yeah. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for sharing that information, Sharon.
Thank you.
We are going to take a short break. When we come back, we will speak with the director of the Los Angeles County's Department of Public Social Services Calfresh Nutrition Program, DeLlora Ellis Gant. Stay tuned for more of Long Beach Lens.
That looks pretty sharp.
My name is Maritza Velasco and I work for the City of Long Beach. I'm the Youth Engagement Coordinator. So Be Safe program, we do it every year to get the community involved in the park. Zumba really does bring all these families together and it brings more people to the park. And it's just really fun and it's a good way to get people moving. Sometimes people don't want to exercise because they think that it's a lot of work, but once they're dancing, they're actually exercising without knowing, and it's really fun.
My name is Gloria Lopez. I like it because there's cardio, there's exercising, and then there's also the dancing, the Zumba, so all the different combination, not just one specific one. You know, it's she throws in a lot, so it makes it really enjoyable.
I see their moms, they bring their little kids, boys, girls, and everybody is just dancing and really having a good time. We just hope that they come and have fun, that they be active, and that they learn more resources that are available to them in their community.
Our next guest is the director of Los Angeles County's Department of Public Social Services Calfresh Nutrition Program. Please join me in welcoming DeLlora Ellis. Gant, welcome.
Thank you.
There is so much I would like to share about DPSS in terms of being a commissioner myself, but whenever I would hear about the Calfresh program and hear it goes through my mind a principal here in Long Beach telling me, Derek, if you want to get the teens at this school, this high school, involved in your teen program, find out a way to feed them in the afternoons, because many of them are leaving here and they're going home hungry. And that broke my heart to hear that, because I thought, wow, in this city, in this nation, we've got kids hungry. And then I hear about the Calfresh program, and I think at least that's one way to help people. So first of all, share your role and responsibilities with DPSS with that setting in mind, and then we'll get into what the program is really all about.
So my role with DPSS is two-pronged. As the Calfresh Nutrition Program Director, I'm responsible for policy implementation, ensuring that the department or LA County implements the federal and state rules related to the Calfresh program properly. And then the second piece of that is our outreach efforts. Okay. So I typically enter into partnerships with some of our community-based partners and faith-based partners to help them to understand the conditions or the eligibility requirements so that we could potentially reach out to those clients that they serve.
So may I ask if we would stop right there? For instance, we're a nonprofit and we serve low-income families, and there's a church right across the parking lot. If an agency like us or that church would be interested, how would they even go about connecting with you to find out if they would qualify to be of service?
They can do it two ways. They can either go to our website if
Okay.
they're having an outreach event and they would like for eligibility staff from the department to go,
Okay.
come and conduct outreach directly on the spot. We could do that, or we can deploy our health and nutrition mobile unit, which is also a manner in which we accept applications in the public, or that agency could become what we call Calfresh application assisters. Now, what that means is that they would be trained on basic Calfresh eligibility rules. We're not asking them to be eligibility workers.
Right.
We just want them to be able to inform their clients and their customers of their potential eligibility, and then the department will give them access, them being the nonprofit, to submit applications to us online. And that benefits the participant and also the agency two ways. The participant would never have to come to our district office because we will take care of the mandatory telephone interview by phone.
Okay.
The agency would be able to submit not only the application, but any mandatory verifications directly on our YBN or Your Benefits Now website. And so it's win-win for, again, the customer, because they never have to go into a DPSS office.
Now, I know as an executive director of a nonprofit, I'm always concerned about staff allocation. And so when you talk about the typical time that it would require of a staff to take away from whatever they were doing before that to get involved, is it like an hour, is it half an hour, or is it just case-by-case basis?
It's a case-by-case basis, but if the staff did not have the time to submit the application online on behalf of the customer, what we would like for them to do is give them brochures.
Gotcha.
And the brochures where they could give that to their customer, who can then go home and apply for Calfresh in the comfort of their home.
Okay.
So if there's a time restriction, then we will ask them, just pass the information on to that customer so that we could make sure that they have that information on how to apply.
The issue of hunger, when you look at Calfresh in terms of what its impact could be in LA County, and let's bring it home specifically to Long Beach versus the impact that it is having, is there a gap there in terms of its potential to serve more people?
Yes, it is. I don't know if you are aware, but the County of Los Angeles, our department, have about 560,000 Calfresh cases. But what we do know is that there are potentially 600,000 individuals countywide that are potentially eligible but have not applied.
In addition to that 500,000.
Exactly.
So we're talking over 1 million people in this county.
That are currently receiving, but then we're looking for another 176,000 that we know are potentially eligible, but for one reason or another have not made that application. So we're trying to add about 70,000 cases to our Calfresh caseload by June 1st, 2019.
Wow.
Yes.
And is there a specific strategy that you're applying that you haven't done before or just doing more of what you've been doing?
We're doing more of what we've been doing. As you may know, May was Calfresh Awareness Month.
Right.
So on May 1st, the Board of Supervisors declared a Calfresh Awareness Month. We partnered with the Hubert Humphrey Department of Health Services on May 3rd, did a big kickoff. The state officials came down, the outreach manager, to help us out with that. We had a public charge forum on May the 9th. So we're doing those type of things all throughout the month of May. We had approximately 150 targeted outreach events throughout the county of Los Angeles, again, promoting Calfresh. In addition to that, we are reaching out to nonprofits throughout the county, asking that they come on board to be Calfresh application assisters, and also that they just promote the program in their lobbies or in their work.
So if I'm listening to you talk about this and I'm at home and I don't know if I qualify or not, could you just give us a quick synopsis of who might be a potential Calfresh candidate?
Yes, so on our website, we do have a fact sheet which gives out.
Which is very informative, I might
It
say.
is.
Yeah.
Thank you. It gives information in regards to income limits, because for the Calfresh program, there are income limits. So a family size, one person, the gross income is of $2,010. And from there, we do calculations and things of that nature to come down to the base of their income and things of that nature. So the program is really targeting low or no income individuals and families throughout the county. But what we like to tell the public is just apply. If you are faced with food insecurity, meaning that you do not have enough food for the entire month for you and your family, place that application for Calfresh and let us make the determination on whether you're eligible for the program or not. A lot of times individuals will go to our website and they see the dollar amounts and they're saying, oh no, I'm not eligible. But what they may not know is you may be potentially eligible. Even like our students, recent policy changes.
I was going to ask that question about college students, because I know at Cal State Long Beach locally, they even have a food pantry, I believe, to help college students. And so if I'm a college student, would I apply?
Yes, you should. And many of the college students, there was recent assembly bill that was passed that now permit us to have more college students potentially eligible for Calfresh. For instance, if they are participating in the Guardian Scholars Program, which is a program for former youth, foster youth, they are exempt as a student and therefore potentially eligible. So we have been reaching out to local colleges, asking their EOPS counselors to place our information in their service centers and also in their pantries, because we will like to try to reach out to those college students, because we understand that there are basic needs that many of our college students are not, meeting, and they're being faced with food insecurity.
Now, I know when I was in college, I didn't necessarily eat the most healthy products or drink the most healthy products. So what can you buy or not buy with Calfresh? Because I'm sure there are restrictions there that people need to be aware of as well.
Yeah, so the restrictions is basically that anything that is inedible, if you can't eat it, you can't purchase it with Calfresh. Although we do know that most college students are even just general Americans, right? Diets is not what there should be. There is a component to our program, nutrition education. So we're always promoting and working alongside of public health, the Department of Public Health, to promote better food choices amongst our participants that are receiving Calfresh. May 16th, we participated in the statewide Rethink Your Drink campaign, where we were trying to steer people away from the high sugar types of drinks and teaching them. There was a chef that participated with us that taught how to use more water infusions and things of that nature. So, yeah.
Okay. Now, I know that citizenship is a big issue nationally.
Yes.
So when it comes down to Calfresh, I know we're a federally funded agency, and these are federal funds for Calfresh, correct? So how does one decide whether their family should or should not apply based on their legal status?
I think they should not decide, but basically let us make that determination, because the issue that you're speaking of is public charge. And that was the reason why we had that public charge farmer market on May 9th at the farmers market on Adams in Vermont, because we wanted to let everyone know that Calfresh is currently not a public charge. And the reason why we wanted to get that message out is because we do know that there are non-citizens that are potentially eligible, but more than that, they may have children that are citizens that are eligible. You have undocumented individuals, but their children are U.S. citizens. And we have an obligation to make sure that they are aware that they should not be faced with food insecurity when we have this program available to them.
So the bottom line then, as I hear you saying it, is don't try to self-assess. At least apply,
Yes.
and there's nothing to be risked there. And then you guys can professionally look at all the facts and let them know, and chances are they may even qualify when they thought they didn't.
That's correct.
Any closing thoughts that you would like to share when you know that in Long Beach specifically people aren't accessing what they could be? What would you say to the people out there that are listening to encourage them to get involved?
To the residents of the city of Long Beach, I would say if you are faced with food insecurity and or you know someone that is faced with food insecurity, go online and submit that application to our program and let us make the determination, because there should be no one hungry in our county and especially in the city of Long Beach. To the nonprofits in the city of Long Beach, I would say join us, partner with us. There is no MOU or memorandum of understanding or contract required to partner with us. Come to our quarterly partners meetings where you can get more information. Contact us so that we can give you the brochures free of charge to place in your lobbies, so it will be able to tell individuals how to apply. So what I would say to everyone in the city of Long Beach, contact the Department of Public Social Services. We are here, and we believe with their help we can reduce food insecurity in the city of Long Beach.
That's a perfect way to close out. You're so informative. It's been a pleasure.
And
We're going to
thank
see
you
more
for
of each other.
Yes, I hope so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, it's over?
Yes, it's over. I'd like to thank Sharon Diggs Jackson and DeLlora Ellis Gant for joining us on today's show. Be sure to follow PatNet TV on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest updates. We also welcome your comments and thoughts regarding this show as we strive to make Long Beach Land a favorite source of local news, information, and entertainment. This show has been brought to you with support from the Long Beach Community Action Partnership. Thank you for watching Long Beach Land.